Welcome to the American Diversity Report podcasts, where we interview change makers and innovative shakers and movers. I'm Deborah Levine, the editor-in-chief of the American Diversity Report and your host for these podcasts. And with me today, we have Dr. Joseph Nwoye, president of Diversity Frontier, Inc. He is an educator and inclusion specialist, and as the president of Diversity Frontier, he focuses on unconscious bias, diversity policies, and practices that work. He is the author of 3 books, and his latest one is called Cultivating a Belief System for Peace, Equity, and Social Justice for All. Now, he's had more than 50 articles published with focus on social issues such as achievement gaps, race and gender, among others. He has served as the Director of Multicultural Education at Illinois State University and is Chief Investigator on Discriminatory Issues. Welcome, Joseph.
Thank you for having me, Deborah.
Always a pleasure. So tell us, what inspired you to write this latest book?
Well, I've been inspired by the people I've met along the way. I had the opportunity to meet people from different backgrounds, people from various races, gender, religion, socioeconomic status, and so on and so forth. Upon meeting them, I got to really know them. And by so doing, I understood how belief systems shape human behavior. As a result, I realized also that unless something is done to transform belief system one forms, you cannot really change individual behavior, because it's the belief system that drives everyone's behavior, whether we believe it or not. So upon realizing those things and looking at what had been purported as diversity and inclusion in our corporations, in our establishment, both business and profit organizations and non-profit organizations, it seems to me that they are missing the mark. And that's why we're in this quagmire, like never-ending story, talking about diversity and inclusion. So I realized that if we can focus on understanding why people do what they do, that is, realizing how they were shaped, how their beliefs were formed, we will be able to figure how to deal with that in order to change the belief system that drives bad behavior, as well as sustaining those that drive good behavior. So upon my work in the area of belief system, it became clear that human beings are by nature good. However, people don't have control of where they were born, the experiences they have, especially during their early years. And they therefore developed a belief system that would drive their behavior. Former Stanford professor Leon Festinger used cognitive dissonance to describe how we change, how our belief system could be destabilized just by uncovering that what we had thought was true is in fact not. So through that, I realized that we can change beliefs by engaging with people, like people who are understanding of different people are more apt to change because they become authentic, recognizing how people think, that they're not necessarily bad people, but it's just that they were informed in a way that isn't the way it should be. So over the years, I've learned that. And that has resulted in this book. This book actually gives a roadmap on how corporations, even those who intend to do good, but they do not know how. In some cases, they find employees from different places, different cultures, different races, different organs, and they come with good intention to incorporate all of them. But within that corporation, it seems like they still have cliques, and each clique sort of reflects what they had been acculturated to think about other people. As a result, there's no really uniformed, authentic understanding of one another. So I came with the idea based on my experiences that if we get to know people from an authentic standpoint, we'll be able to address the issues. And if you take any of these issues associated with ism, race, gender, inequity, class, religion, etc., and frame it in context of the golden rule principle to treat others how we want to be treated. And then take any of these issues and look at the belief formation that drives the behavior we know that is not consistent with golden rule principles. Then we could change it. We change it by dramatical examples you could see in the book. If you open that book, you see the cycle of human behavior from when somebody is born to a point where the person has no connection with people they may have not known anything about. However, they have judgment to say, oh, this is bad, this is terrible. But as soon as they get to know those people, realizing that they are as good as the individual may see them or not see them, it begins to transform that belief system, modifying those belief systems. And the cycle goes on. That's why I encourage people to engage with people they did not know. Engage with people whom you think that there's nothing to fear. As a former president, Delano Roosevelt said, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. So if they get to know those people, those fears will be eradicated. And authentic diversity and inclusion, which will mean including people for whom they are, will set in. And that will help in creating a more peaceful, equity and social justice world. And that's what the book is all about.
One of the things that has always intrigued me about you and your work is that you are the model for it. Your background, your journey, your personal journey has been an amazing one. Would you share a few things about it so people can understand how you've made that journey and embraced a global mindset?
Absolutely. That's a very important question because it's where it began. I had parents who were like the best anyone could ask for. And I have siblings. I have 3 sisters and 4 brothers. We were all acculturated to respect one another, respect people, see people as we see ourselves. And during the time of my growing up, my parents exposed me to people from various parts of the world. Some were ambassadors, some were just people who were working in the area. Even my teachers were from India, from Pakistan, from Canada. I remember very vividly Dr. Walker from Canada, who taught me chemistry, as well as Dr. Uni from India. They were excellent people. And during the course of doing this, I had to mingle with different people. And if you know Nigeria, where I came from, we have sectionalism, the North, the South, the Muslims, all those type of things. They create problems. And these problems is not unique to the people in Nigeria. It's just human nature. When you are acculturated to see people as others, you are bound to treat them as others. Then when you are groomed to see people for who they are, as just like you are bound to treat them just as you would like to be treated. The golden rule principle says it. So those were where it began. I was nurtured in a community where if you have a child, you know that the child belongs to the community. As a former presidential candidate on the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton, said, the child kind of reflected the child as a community individual. So we work together. You can't do anything you don't want your parents to know in presence of your teacher or your neighbors or your siblings or people who may see you, because the message will go precisely how they say it to your parents. So those are the things that cumulatively shaped me and the way I behave.
So you take these lessons and you are very well educated. You have your PhD and you've worked for universities, and now you are working with corporations and other institutions to refine what you've already and always known. And you have a group called the Systemic Diversity and Inclusion Group, yes?
Yes.
And how do you hope that this book will affect them?
Well, it's already affecting them. In fact, that's the model. It also inspired the book in a way. I had nurtured this idea that if people were to be brought together in a situation where they were provided with a platform to be authentic, to be able to express themselves, not to say something they know they don't believe just for the moment, but to really authentically reflect who they are. Those type of discussions will enable others to learn about them. It's like, usually when we say gay or lesbian people or people of Muslim or all these things that are driving some people crazy, is because they are uninformed. If they get to know those people, you know that people are not defined by one thing. We are all gifted in many ways, and picking somebody for whatever it is, I shouldn't be. So that's essentially what made me to bring people together with the purpose of having them engage with one another, learning from one another. Right now, the first two panel discussion we had was excellent. People learn from Christians, people learn from people who talk about brain power, how our brain shapes our behavior. We had someone who had just come back from Europe who uses brain power, how it's changed, how one could change his brain or thinking in order to be successful. And then by so doing, uncovering other people and their views and who they are is like uncovering new things. Dr. Dweck, Carol Dweck of Stanford, in her book, talked about beliefs, how it shapes our behavior, how we model different behavior, growth mindset and non-growth fixed mindset. Growth mindset is one that ensues when you are open and discuss, openly with people, learn from one another rather than biased minds that are usually cultivated based on the misconceptions that they have filtered in through when we have what I call artificial walls that break people and prevent people from relating with one another. So that organization or that group are engaging in honest and open way. Sometimes it's not easy. Some of them are, issues of disagreement, but by and large, we come to know one another. It's really facilitating meaningful learning.
Thank you. And you might want to add that much of the conversation takes place on LinkedIn.
That's correct.
Right. When you think about the people that you've met over the years and you have been able to establish a relationship with, is there one or two that stand out in your mind that really changed how you think about people?
Oh, to be candid, I would be sorry if I start mentioning names because I have so many of them.
So many.
For lack of not being able to mention them, I don't have their list, but there's so many of them. I could think of, let me look at it from standpoint of some of the major things I've been doing. I remember Dr. who had been a mentor of mine, and you have been a very critical person in my project, because you've made me to be able to look into things I would otherwise not look into. And Pamela, who has been very part of that program, is also somebody of worthy mentioning. And Val is also another one worthy of mentioning. These are people who had been contributing immensely to seeing the success of this organization. And of course, my family members have really my rock. They have helped me in many ways to keep going, even when things are off.
Yes, always family. Oh my. So when you have this book out, as you do now, what is your hope for it? How will you want it to be used? And by whom?
You know, I wish I could get the book in hands of leaders above all, because these leaders are the people who purport to be championing diversity and inclusion. I recall an article I read a while ago by Jenny, who is the president of JC Morgan Chase. In the article, they cited him. He was working really hard to diversify his organization. They talked about his view of how he managed to get Black people in the management field, and some of them just are no longer there. And my response to that was, why are they no longer there? Well, this is a crucial point that we have to be addressing. Some people may go to job, not necessarily because it's nice or the place they want to be. They may go to a job, part of it is to get to live, especially in this expensive environment. But if you don't create or cultivate a sense of belonging to the organization in them, chances are that they will see a new pasture where they may feel like, oh, these people pay me a lot of money, but I think it's better I be where I'm considered as part and parcel of them. I don't feel confident that I can be part and parcel of this. And this is what happens where they have cliques. So the reason why I want this to go above all to the corporate leaders is that they could understand the importance of belonging. I see diversity as counting heads, putting different people, say, I have these Black people, I have this Caucasian, I have this, Italian, or, what do I call it, Hispanic, but it goes beyond that. True inclusion requires people to be welcomed in the organization, for you to recognize them, create or instill the confidence in them that they can do attitude that will enable them to really grow as they contribute to your organization. And hence you develop that type of sense. They will not go to, they will not leave as those people left Morgan Chase, as I read in the article I was citing.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I hope that people are listening and understand that they have to do much more than just recruit, and to be aware of the environment always, and to pay attention to the unconscious bias that shapes how people act.
And if I can just take a moment to...
Yes, please.
Okay. And in that context, the corporate leader cannot be thinking for everyone, but they can create a platform that nurtures that attitude. Say, for instance, in a departmental division, they should be able to train the leaders in those divisions to be able to create a forum where people could engage with one another, gain a good understanding of one another. Until they do that, when people say we are together, they are missing the point. They have to ensure through inculcation of that belief that we are part and parcels of this, we are all going to succeed all together. With that spirit, it will be more effective.
Thank you. Thank you. Audience, I hope you're listening. This is a very relevant topic for today. It's always been, of course, an important one, but today we really need for you to listen to the inclusion issue in order for your workplace to operate at its most maximal level. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Joseph?
Well, what I would add is that people who may be interested in picking the book can go to either Amazon or they could go to Noble, to the other one, I can't even remember the name. But anyway, they can also go to my webpage, diversityfrontier.com, and they will be seeing, they will see the book there, as well as see the type of things we do, especially those in cooperative leaders. They could go there and see things they can tap into in order to develop more effective diversity initiatives, what I call systemic diversity and inclusion, rather than they throwing money here and there without really seeing the impact.
Thank you. Thank you. Audience, that's Amazon for Joseph's new book, and Barnes & Noble, and diversityfrontier.com, where you can see not only the book, but more about what Joseph is doing and writing, and it can help with. So thank you so much, Joseph, for sharing all of this with us today. And audience, thank you for tuning in to another session of the American Diversity Report podcasts.
Thank you, Deborah. It's always a pleasure to talk with
you. I appreciate it. We'll be in touch more and more. And audience, see you soon.